welcome to the Millcreek Government Channel. I'm Judy Zelina. Today we have two guests with us from Penndot. We have Marianne Warner, who has joined us on the program before. Marianne is the Safety Press Officer for Penndot. Joining us we have Mary LeCarey, and Mary is the Northwest Regional Coordinator, the Pennsylvania chapter of American Academy of Pediatrics Traffic Injury Protection Program. Did I forget anything?
No.
Okay. But they both have some wonderful, wonderful safety information that I feel is going to be so valuable to our viewers. One of the newest things that we have right on the horizon is the Pennsylvania Yellow Dot program. So you see these yellow folders, and Marianne, tell us what's inside and why we want to get on board.
Well, the Yellow Dot program is actually a program that Pennsylvania rolled out late last year, and they did that in coordination with the Pennsylvania State Police, with the health departments. They worked with emergency responders to put it together. We're not the first state to be doing this. Okay, so it's a proven program, and basically what it does is it addresses that golden hour after a crash.
What is a golden hour?
A golden hour refers to that first hour after a crash has occurred, when things the trauma is fresh, and if there's a way to intervene to get the most appropriate medical attention for the occupants of the cars in the crash, then we can save lives. And that's a critical hour. So we call it the golden hour.
Okay, all right.
And information is key. So if the first responders have some information about the occupants of the car who perhaps may not be able to speak for themselves if they're knocked unconscious or just disoriented. So this program allows you to leave information for a first responder, and it allows you to alert them that you have left information. And the way it works, you would have as soon as you can, if this is a program that is of interest, I'll let you peel this while I'm talking. But basically, you put a yellow dot about 3.5 inches above the bottom of your rear window behind the driver.
All right.
In the corner there, and you've affixed that. It goes on the inside. When a first responder, that could be a police officer, a fireman, ambulance driver, sees that, they know that in your glove box is going to be a folder that looks this folder, and this folder will contain information about the occupant. We leave room for a photo. If you don't have one, you can still use this system and put as much information as you care to put in there.
All right.
So you've got your name. We recommend that you use pencil, because every 6 months you should probably look over this.
In case anything has changed.
Exactly.
All right.
And inside you have room for emergency contact people. You have room for allergies, medications that you might be on, physicians, all the information you would want somebody to have in case you couldn't speak for yourself in a crash.
Okay.
So,
and then with the picked photo on the back, this way the first responders are certain that this is the person that this information is relating to, correct?
That's right. And you could have more than one envelope in the car. You might be a mom that is frequently, traveling with an autistic child, perhaps, or with a baby, and there might be information that you would want to share.
Or husband and wife.
Exactly.
Because they both share the vehicle.
So having that photo is actually a really good idea.
Yes.
But if you don't have it, don't let that stop you from completing the rest of the forms.
And it doesn't have to be a big photo, professional photo.
No.
Just a little photo would be just fine.
That's right.
See, here's what you do. You get your teenage kids to take a picture of you on their cell phone now, and then just print it out.
It is so easy.
It's a whole new world now.
It's a whole new world. Very easy to do.
Now, how would I be able to obtain one of these folders?
Well, you simply go to the Penndot website, and right on the front page, the home page, there's a small insignia that looks just like this, and click on that and go right ahead and order one. We don't, there will be more and more places where you can actually go and pick up forms, because we've had people request quantities. Maybe a church group has requested a quantity because they're having some event and they think this has gone over extremely well, and they think that maybe some of their clients, people that they work with, would like to use them, and so they've asked for a number of them. I have referred them to the Pennsylvania, the health department and the state health department, because they have some quantities that went out to them early on. We're in, I want to say, the second printing right now, but I'm sure we'll be doing more. And so it's just a matter of time before you can get quantities. But right now, any individual can get one just by simply going to the Penndot webpage and clicking.
Well, I know we have a handful of them here at the municipal building, just a handful. One of our supervisors wanted to obtain some, and I know down the road, as soon as I'm going to be able to get more, I'll have them here where our residents can pick them up. What I like also is in this folder, there's specific instructions, correct? Yes. On how to fill everything out and where to place everything.
Yes, right there. It's a one page.
So it's a step-by-step. There's even a picture of the vehicle from the back, just to show where you would place this handy-dandy little yellow dot sticker. I think it is a wonderful, wonderful program, because we do have this program in place for homeowners. Their refrigerator card that they would put on the refrigerator if they're non-responsive to any emergency personnel coming into the house. Now you've got this for the car.
It's very similar.
Great. You've always got some great safety tips. And Mary, you are working on a program. I just find this absolutely wonderful, because it is an area that's so important to safety on the road. It's the Safe Driving Guide for Teens and Parents. What does that involve?
Well, we developed the Safe Driving Guide for Teens and Parents with the help of the Pennsylvania Teen Safe Driving Coalition, the Allstate Foundation, and of course Penndot, our funding source. And we felt that it was important because the greatest lifetime crash risk is in the first 6 to 12 months after a new driver begins to drive. And
that is so true.
We also have in Pennsylvania, somewhat new, fairly new, the graduated driver's licensing law, and we found that a survey that the Allstate Foundation had done said that many of the teens and parents were not aware of everything that was involved with the graduated driver's licensing law.
And what is that?
It's an intervention to reduce teen crashes. It's a law that kind of gradually eases the young driver into the driving process. And it starts with the learner's permit. And you can have your learner's permit for a year, but you have to have it a minimum of 6 months before they can apply for a junior driver's license. And in that 6 months, when they have their learner's permit, they take their knowledge test, and they have a vision exam with the DMV, but they also go to get a medical evaluation, and that's where the folder comes in. When they get their medical evaluation from the pediatrician can go over this folder with the teen and parent, and then they can utilize it. But from there, the junior drivers, they can apply, they can take a road test to have their junior or intermediate license. And with that comes some passenger restrictions and some hour restrictions for when they can drive. Also, backing up to their license, their learner's permit, during that learner's permit, driving learning time, that's where this comes in very handy. They have to do 65 hours at minimum of practice time with the guardian or parent or adult that's going to supervise their driving. And they have to do, right.
That's new.
How new is that?
It was 50 hours, and then early last year they made it 65, and 10 of those hours need to be at night, and 5 need to be in inclement weather,
Oh, really?
just to get you that practice.
Right. Now, that's the minimum, but you can do more hours if you like.
Now, who logs these hours? I'm just not aware who would do that. The parents?
The parents do,
Yes.
and in the back of our guide, we have a log that shows where you would keep track of your hours with your parent.
Oh, okay.
And on one side of this folder is for teens, and the other side is for parents. And across the front, we have the graduated driver's licensing law, which talks about, what they do for their learner's permit and what they do for their junior license.
right.
And the fact that they cannot drive between the hours of 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. Okay,
Is that just the learner's permit?
that's
the junior.
license.
Okay.
Mhm. And yeah, as well. So with that, they also have the restriction of passenger restrictions. For the first 6 months, a junior license holder, if they've passed the road test and their knowledge test and they now are on their junior license, they must be restricted to 1 passenger who is not a family member for the first 6 months, unless they're driving with their parent or guardian.
All right.
And who's not a brother or sister.
Okay.
Yeah, and after that, then it jumps up to 3 passengers. Again.
Provided there have been no crashes, no violations. So they need to behave they need to demonstrate that they have learned certain basic good driving skills and habits.
Okay, so if they have been in an accident or something, then
Then they're restricted to the 1
Okay.
passenger for the entire time until they're 18.
You know what, I think this is wonderful that you guys recognize so many of these distractions that can happen with young drivers. I shudder to think when I first got in the car at 16, it was you got your license at 16 and you were off and running.
But don't you think we have more distractions out there for people
Actually,
in
we
general?
do. We really do.
Right.
So, and teens are no different.
And that's where we do have a parent-teen driving agreement. And as part of that agreement, we expect them to fill in, their restrictions on things like, and of course we have a texting law in Pennsylvania, but we want them to fill in their restrictions on even having the cell phone, on in the car and that kind of thing. Because information shows that when you use a cell phone or you text, you may look, but you don't see 50% of the driving information that's out there. Visually, you don't see.
50%?
It's that high. Really, we talk about multitasking.
Right.
But that's actually a myth. And
we have different games that we take into the schools and play with students and try to show them how difficult it can be to concentrate on one thing and try to do something else. And what it shows is that their brain really switches back from one task to another more than doing the tasks equally well at the same level.
Okay.
So we have called a distract-a-match game that we do. We also have a simulator that we've been
Yes.
taking into schools as well.
that allows, it's a fun way for kids to see some of the consequences of driving distracted. And the attempt with the simulator is to actually have them interact, so to speak, and usually they have a group of friends behind them. And so if something goes awry during the game portion,
Okay.
they have a crash, for instance, at that point, it switches to videos talking directly to the teen or the user, the person who just played that game and crashed, and you have that interaction.
They see the consequences.
They see the consequences, and the consequences are not preachy. Instead, they are, you did this, and now you are going to court, and the judge is telling you exactly what your penalty is. The police
facts,
officer is taking you to the station to book you, and you see exactly, it mimics booking you in the police station.
So they
So it's
do not
embarrassing.
sugarcoat it.
They don't.
It's factual.
It's
No.
factual.
This
And
is
it's-
what will happen.
And the students find that simulator very interesting. Well, first of all, it's a technological approach to them being educated about driving, and they're all into that, into the the screen, the big screen, and the driving simulation. But
They
also,
like video games.
they like to be
Let's face it.
challenged.
Yes,
they
they
like
do.
to be challenged. There's
Right.
like in the distracted driving, there's an on-screen phone, and they have to punch in a text or a phone number. And so
Or ignore it.
Or ignore it, yeah.
I think they should all turn their phones off when they get in the car.
But
Absolutely.
the guide is basically to help parents and teens communicate about this, and and I would say to parents too to approach this in a cooperative, that this is a cooperative effort, this learning to drive process between teens and parents. I think it's also important that parents take a look at the Pennsylvania Driver's Manual, because it's changed since they were young. One example of how it's changed is even where you hold the steering wheel. We learned many years ago 10 and 2. Well, the new manual has 9 and 3 or 4 and 8 because of the airbag that is now in the steering wheel.
I didn't know that.
Oh yes, you could hurt yourself if you're wearing a watch. And
At the
you're
10 and
the
2,
top.
so you're down
Smack.
here, or even down here.
That's right, you want to be below the halfway.
Okay, I did not know that.
So there's a lot more information in there, and probably good for parents to have a refresher on that. And they also know what the teen is learning for their knowledge test. So we recommend they go over that. But they also use this guide, and they each look at their sections and try to cooperate on their driving hours together, and really to stress safety rather than control when it comes to driving, and also to reward responsible behavior with driving. And
you know, okay, you're talking the parents and the teens. What advice would you give parents who are beginning their driving process with their teens? What's some of the advice you would give them?
well, to take it slow, begin in low traffic situations at lower speeds, and
Low risk.
lower risk, and then to gradually move up into a little bit more complicated traffic situations, and a little higher, like maybe we're ready for the throughway or something like that now. So just to begin that process gradually. Also to have constructive comments, I'll say, and feedback for their driver, and any in-depth discussions about driving should take place outside of the car rather than in the car while we're trying to do this.
They could get heated.
Right.
That's what we want to avoid.
Right, right.
And to just don't just do the minimum. They can go do more than 65 hours. They can have their learner's permit a little longer if you feel that's necessary. They're responsible for this process, and they're young driver too. Also, not to sometimes drivers fall into bad habits. You might have a driver who only has one hand on the steering wheel, or who doesn't use their turning signal, and they should. If you've fallen into bad habits, that's why they should look at the driver's manual.
I think that's very important.
They are modeling behavior for their young driver, and their young driver is going to catch them on it. They're smart about that, and so I think everybody can.
And
use
youngsters in the car, they don't have to be 16 and over. They can be much younger than that, and they'll be noticing your driving patterns, your behavior. And so if you want a good driver and you want to help them the absolute best way, model the correct behavior way in advance of that driver's license.
Because then when they do get that learner's permit, you're right, they're going to be mimicking what they have seen, for all the years. But I think the most important piece of advice for any parent that is starting with a teen driver is to read the Pennsylvania Driver's Manual. I know we have here the driver safety courses for 50 years of age and older. And even just the school bus laws we talk about, there's so many changes. I didn't know that about the 10 and 2. I learn every day. And I think it's a great refresher course.
Right.
And it helps you when you get out in the car with your teen.
There's also helpful tips for parents. We have on the back, what should you have in your roadside emergency kit? Things that you should carry with you. We also have some additional tips for long distance driving, some tips for winter driving. So these are things that the parent and teen can look over together and talk about.
This is fantastic. Where can the parents or teens again obtain one
We're
of these
trying to get them out
folders?
to as many pediatric offices as we can. And as
Okay.
I said, and then in 2014, I believe we will be ready by that time. And we will have a separate area of our website just dedicated to being able to access this information. We're
Oh,
going to have
that's
it
nice.
online.
That's nice.
So our website is www.pakidstravelsafe.org. So you can look for that maybe next year. Presently, there is another resource. I don't have it here, but they can see it on the website. It's at justdrivepa.org, which is Penndot's website, and it's the How to Steer Them to Safe Driving Guide. It's a booklet.
It's a small
brochure.
booklet that again is extremely helpful for parents as they take on this responsibility for keeping their new drivers safe and teaching them properly from the get-go.
Okay. And that's the bottom line. That's what you want to do with this folder to get the word out to parents and teens. You know, when they get that learner's permit, I don't think they realize the responsibility that they're taking on when they get behind the wheel. You know, they just are just not aware of what comes with that.
And parents can cut their young drivers' risk in half by setting driving rules and monitoring them in a supportive and non-controlling way.
I think that's very important for our viewers to remember. I learned so much. You have so many great tips. And Marian, we were talking about another new program. This is the emergency contact information.
Yes.
But this is where you would upload this information?
Yes, we actually, at the same time as we rolled out the Yellow Dot program,
All right.
we put up the emergency contact information system, and basically what that does is it allows you to get onto the website, and again, on the home page, you can click on this icon and follow the steps to get the name of your emergency contact person onto the JNet file. And I apologize, that's a little bit of a technical thing, but JNet, I'm going to use it, is basically what 511 uses.
Okay.
What the state police use, what
All right.
police departments use. And so even before, as soon as the call comes in to 511 that there's been a crash, they'll have information about how to contact the person who has information about your medical condition.
Wow.
And so it, in tandem with Yellow Dot, where the emergency responder gets the information at the time that they come upon the actual crash, this could actually be something that has gotten the information to them in advance.
Wow.
So they're two great programs,
Yes, they are. You guys are always thinking.
and you can take advantage of as much or as little of them as you want.
Now, what is the website again that they would be able to
It's
get on and actually find out any more about the Yellow Dot program and so
Sure.
forth?
You can Google Penndot and get it that way, or www.dot.pa.us.
Okay. All right. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me on the program. Like I said, you always have so much wonderful safety information. Very important that our viewers, information that our viewers can
use.
learn about. Yeah, oh my goodness, yes. So check them out on the website. Any questions on any of these three programs we've been talking about, viewers, thank you for tuning into the Millcreek Government Channel. And until next time, have a wonderful day.